They either followed us down there or they were already there. And
was there a lot of visual sightings of these objects, or is it just equipment? That's
a lot of
picking them
visual
up?
sightings.
Was it the same sort of thing, a circle with a square inside of it?
Or solid spheres, some elongated spheres, kind of more tic-tac shape, if you will. And during that workup cycle, that's when we recorded what's now known as the gimbal and go fast video. And they almost had to shut that entire exercise down because there were multiple near misses while we were trying to do this. And this is a big deal. If they cancel that training mission, that means the people that are deployed essentially have to be there longer. They have to wait longer. So there's a lot of downstream effects. So pretty big deal to even consider canceling our training mission like this. So again, we filed it up. We didn't know what else to do with it, and we went back to our training and left on deployment. In 2017, a New York Times article came out. I was now an instructor pilot in Mississippi, and for the Navy still. And on front page of New York Times, lo and behold, there are the video of the gimbal and the go fast with the pilot's audio on there that we've heard now. And I'm like, holy shit, this is still going on. Massive deja vu, as you might imagine. And that I saw that as like a cry for help, essentially, that these videos now have been somewhat smuggled out. They're on the front page of New York Times. And
do we know how the gimbal or the go fast videos got leaked?
My understanding is that work was done partially with Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon. So there was 2 videos that were attached, right? So when you record in the jet, it records 2 screens. It records...
Can we show those, Jamie? Show those videos.
So it records these 2 screens, right? And the bottom screen is like a God's eye view with all your radar data. And the right one is your FLIR system. And when you watch that in the briefing room after, they're stitched together, like side by side. And that, that's what I saw, and that's how I built my understanding of this situation.
Here it is. So with the crosshairs, is that they're trying to lock in on it? So now they've locked in on it, right?
Yeah, they weren't able to gain a lock in their air-to-air mode, so they actually had to degrade down to an air-to-surface mode, kind of a manual locking mode, and that's that box that you see.
What is the difference? Like,
the air-to-air mode should essentially be looking exactly where the radar is dropping them off and should automatically lock on it. But in the method that you're seeing here, the pilot's manually slewing the sensor. This is kind of like a last-ditch effort to get it. And he's like restarting it, and that's why the box keeps getting bigger, and it's getting smaller. It's not capturing it.
What would be the difficulty? Like, why is it difficult to lock on?
We don't know. One theory is that it's because it's relatively close to the ground, and there's a lot of background, right, to confuse the sensor. But it's
How far off the ocean is this supposed to be?
It's somewhere around 10,000 feet or so. So it's really not that close. So it's really not a great explanation. But, yeah, you can see him try it there.
Now, what do they estimate the size of this thing to be?
I don't know if anyone has estimated a size, to be honest. It's hard, from the pilot's perspective, they're not going to be able to make a real-time assessment of the size.
Because how far above this thing are they?
Well, they're about 5 miles away or so.
5 miles.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you see the range 3.4 right there. That range is coming strictly from the AT FLIR sensor itself. It's not a very reliable indicator of the range. That's what the radar is for. So although it says about 3.5, 4.4, and then ticks down, it's probably a little bit further away than that.
What does that stand for, RNG?
Range.
So the speed, is that on there anywhere of how fast this thing's going?
So you have 170 V sub C right below the range, and that's indicating our relative velocity.
And that's miles per hour or kilometers?
It should be knots, so it's probably like 180, 190 miles per hour.
No heat signature.
Well, there is a heat differential anyway. So right now we're in white hot. So objects that are white are hotter objects than the background.
I've used infrared binoculars before.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. You can see like raccoons and shit.
So that's showing us that it's cooler than the surrounding environment for whatever reason.
Which is very bizarre for something that's moving 170 whatever miles an hour.
Yeah. And just to be clear, the 170 doesn't represent its like raw speed.
This is the gimbal video, which is different.
Yep.
And this one, does it show the speed of this?
No, I don't.
And this is the one that rotates.
Yes.
And when we're looking at this signature, when we're looking at the does that represent something that's cooler than the outside area, or hotter? Like, what does that represent?
So this one's black hot. So this is showing us that it's hotter than the surrounding areas right now.
And would this be similar to what you would see if you saw a jet that was flying?
No. I mean, we've seen thousands of aircraft like that.
But I mean, in terms of the signature that it gives off with the temperature, or would you be able to see a visible means of propulsion that would be accentuated?
Yeah, you would see the exhaust coming out of the back. You'd be able to see the skin of the aircraft itself. So the sensor is not great, but it's good enough where you can break out some pretty good detail on a jet. I mean, it looks like a jet.
Right. Well, this definitely doesn't look like a jet. You know, it kind of looks like a flying saucer. So, as far as you know, we don't have anything that moves like that.
No.
And we don't have anything that gives off a signature like that.
No. No.
Did anybody discuss any of these things with you? Like when you're talking about the safety hazard, you know, you've got this clear circle with a black square inside of it, and they're flying in this very unusual way. When you described it to people, what's the feedback?
Honestly, most people just kind of looked off into space.
Really?
Yeah, like, that's interesting.
That's fucking weird.
Yeah. Just real quick, you know, the gimbal and the go fast happen within minutes of each other.
Oh.
The gimbal...
Two different things, but they happen within minutes of each other.
Yeah, the go fast, there was multiple objects in a line formation called line abreast.
Right. How
flying
many?
Side by side. 4. They're about a mile apart, flying in formation, doing what they're doing. The pilots were looking at that, had a hard time locking it, and then they kind of brought their attention up to this other object that's basically co-altitude with them, and that's the gimbal video. And behind the gimbal, there was what they refer to as a fleet of objects, about 4 to 6 objects that were flying in a formation, like a tight formation, all within about a mile and a half of each other, in a like a V formation. And so they come, they turn, they get all discombobulated, and then they flow back out into a clean formation, making a 180-degree turn. And then the gimbal object, which we see start to rotate, that's the moment it actually changes direction, right? So it's proceeding behind this formation. It turns, the gimbal does its kind of, its maneuver, and then it starts trailing in the opposite direction. So you got, maybe 10, 12 objects that are out there operating in this area. East of the ship, we're already 300 miles out there. And so where do they come from? What are they doing? Are they assessing our fight? Are they enemy combatants? It's for me, this is the conversation that I've been trying to have for almost 10 years now about the seriousness of having these unknown objects in our airspace. It's a security risk whether, they come from little green men or whether they come from our adversaries, or if they just remain unknown.
I wonder what's number 2 in UFO sightings.
I wonder what's number 1. What's number 1? Is it Hudson Valley?
Yeah, Hudson Valley by the George Washington Bridge, that whole thing.
That's crazy.
That's number 1. I wonder what number 2, number 3, and number 4 is.
It's interesting that a lot of them are over near where the ocean is, because that's one of the big theories, that they have bases in the ocean. Because the reality of the ocean is no one's looking. If you have something on Earth, satellites can see it. Like if you have something that's in the middle of Nevada in some deserted area and you have buildings, satellites can see that. They can see the structures. So you have to hide them. But if you have something in the ocean, nobody sees anything. We've only explored, what is the percentage of the ocean floor that we have explored? I think it's like 10%. I think it's somewhere around 10, maybe 20%. So that means that 80% of the ocean floor is undiscovered. We have no idea what's down there. And it's, a mile, 2 miles deep in some spots. If you're from a super sophisticated civilization that's millions of light years away, and you can come here instantaneously, and you have the ability to traverse in these, what they call transmedium craft, which means they can go through air, go through water, it creates a gravity bubble around it and go through everything. That's what they think these things are doing. That's what they can go 500 knots underwater, just like nothing we have could do that. And if they have bases under the ocean, it makes sense that these sightings are all near the ocean. Just totally makes sense.
A lot happens in the ocean. That ocean's stronger than what you fucking think.
Yeah.
I love going to a beach and
What
just
is this,
sitting
Jamie?
on the beach and
Seabed
watching the ocean.
2030.
Seabed 2030, what they've mapped out.
They've gotten 30% mapped. They're trying to get the whole thing done by 2030.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting. Oh, what if they find a base?
Yeah. So you
What
can
if they
go-
get down there and they find bases?